Yo, I figured I'd make a video out here in the garage today. Working on reassembling the truck. I've been driving it a little bit until I took her down in the ditch one day. It was raining out, it got wet, and I got on it, overcorrected a little bit, went down in the ditch, ripped the front bumper off, got into the intercooler piping. So before I put the bumper back together, I'm gonna attempt to use fiberglass resin to put on the top bumper cap, where anyone who has these trucks know it has like a weird porous texture, and if you paint over it, you see it and it looks like crap. I was informed that you can get paintable ones, but that was after I ordered one that was already porous, so I'm gonna attempt to use this fiberglass resin that I got from AutoZone to put on the bumper cap, smooth it out, and hopefully make a good paintable surface that doesn't look like crap. I've already got it sanded. I used 80 grit sandpaper on my DA. This right here seems to work pretty well. This right here, I don't know if you saw that or not, but yeah, it works well. Sanded it down with 80 grit. I used this Rust-Oleum paint prep wipe that removes dirt, wax, and grease is what it says. I just got this at AutoZone or Walmart or somewhere. I'm gonna see how this works. But yeah, I'm gonna mix up some fiberglass resin and give it a whirl. I don't know if this is gonna work. I probably should have it on the bumper first, but it's at the sandblaster getting blasted because it's chrome. And I wasn't sanding all that. It was only 50 bucks. Get that sandblasted. But yeah, I'm afraid if I don't put it on the bumper, it's gonna harden and not be able to flex to fit the bumper. But hey, they're like 60 bucks. If I need to, I'll just get another one. So yeah, that one will be a paintable one because I don't want to have to mess this up twice. So I'm gonna get to mixing and try to do a little time lapse of me applying it, and I'll get back to you after that's done. All right, so I got it all applied to the bumper. One thing I found is that you really have to coat it. Otherwise, those little porous holes are still gonna show. So don't be afraid to get a lot on there. And then, I mean, you can always sand it down after you're done and everything. So yeah, just make sure you get all those holes filled. Otherwise, you're doing this for no reason. That fiberglass kit comes with the little clear hardener. You don't want to use too much. I have heard stories about like people making shit smoke because they put so much hardener in there trying to go fast, but don't be afraid to put hardener in there either, because the last thing you want to do is apply this and then the fiberglass not set, and then you got to scrape it all off because it's all wet and it's not going to harden. So don't be afraid to put a decent amount of hardener in there. I'd say probably 20 drops for, oh, I don't know, I probably filled the cup up to about the bottom of the ridges. Put about 20 drops of hardener in there. One other thing I will mention, gloves. I don't have any rubber gloves, but I got this fiberglass resin jelly. I've never really done this before, and yeah, that's not right. That's like Duraglass. That's more like body filler. If you're putting in like a metal panel and you weld it in and you want like extra structure, that's what that's for, not for shit like this. But just to clear up, all I did was apply the resin. I didn't put any of that like mesh mat for like a fiberglass repair. It's just the resin hardener. Applied it with a paintbrush, like a little 2-inch paintbrush. See how it turns out. I will get back on here when it hardens and I get it all sanded down and see how it turns out. Peace. All right, so we are back out here in the garage with this bumper deal. It's been a few days. The top side that I did in the time lapse, I had to put another, sorry about that, I had to put another coat on it. I've learned that it does make it a lot easier that you cake it on there, because you can always just sand it off. If you don't put a lot on there, that texture is still gonna be there, and it's not like a clear film. It's kind of, the texture still pokes through. So I just caked the fiberglass on there. You can always sand it off at the end. And that's what I did. I just sanded a lot of the extra shit off, and it came out with a good surface on the top side. But now I flipped it over, and the part that I couldn't get with it, you know, flipped the other way. I went ahead and put a thick coat on there, and I'm waiting for that to dry. I did learn that the 10 drops of hardener is not enough. You need to put maybe 20 in there, because the initial coat took more than 24 hours for it to cure, and that's just not ideal. You can't get in here and work on stuff if it's still wet. It eventually did dry, but it's better to, I counted 20 on this one, and it seemed to work pretty good. It didn't affect the plastic. It didn't like melt it or anything. It wasn't smoking. So more hardener, and apply a lot on there. You can always take it off. And I did get the metal part of the bumper that goes on top of this. In case you don't know, I didn't show an assembled part of it, but if you know the cat eyes, you know what I'm talking about. That part clips in here. I got this back from the sandblaster, and I put 3 coats of self-etching primer on there, and after this cures, I'm gonna wait overnight. I'm gonna go back through and wet sand it with 400 grit, and then I'm gonna seal it with primer sealer, and then I'll probably hit that with 600 grit, and hopefully that thing is ready to paint. I know it's a tedious process, but just take your time, because in the end, you want a nice, level, clean, paintable surface. And I've learned that over the years, that you rush through shit and then it just hurts you in the long run. So just take your time, get it right. If you have to apply another coat, go ahead and do it, and yeah, the results at the end will pay off. All right, so I got this whole top piece sanded down again with 80 grit, and there were some little like pinholes and minor imperfections in the fiberglass, and I just went ahead and touched that up with some basic Walmart body filler, and yeah, it just sands off a little easier than the fiberglass does, and it dries a lot faster. It's already almost cured, so I'm gonna get that touched up, and then I'll final sand it with 180, maybe 320, depending on how rough it looks, and then I will shoot it with some filler primer. And I'm going to start wet sanding the metal part of the bumper to just clear it out. There's like a little, I don't know, I wouldn't really call it overspray, because I just sprayed it, but like roughness in the primer that I'm gonna wet sand out with some 400 grit. That is hopefully for wet sanding. I don't think it should matter, but yep, 3M 400. I'm gonna fire up the old hose and get to wet sanding. All right, so I just got done wet sanding this deal. I might have used too aggressive of sandpaper. You can kind of see little scratches right there. It's recommended 400, so I could have used either probably 600 or 800, and I may have not scratched it like it did. I'm gonna go ahead and just spray it with some primer sealer, and then maybe wet sand it with 600. But like, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but little scratches you can kind of feel. I mean, it's a lot smoother than it was, but I'd still I want it to be perfect. I don't want you to be able to see scratches and shit in it once you get it on the truck. When you're wet sanding, you don't really want to sand through it. If you do in a few spots, it's fine. Like right there, I kind of sanded through it a little bit, but you don't want to take the primer off really. You just want to get the rough spots out, because a lot of this shit you're not even going to see. Like, it's going to be covered all the way up to there with that piece, and the bottom valence will cover all those tabs. So really all you're going to see is like right here, and that's of course where the majority of the scratches are. So once it dries off all the way, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some sealer. So the main part of the bumper is all sealed. Got that sealer sprayed on there, and I really like it. You can't see any of those little scratches or anything in it. I think this thing is about ready to go ahead and spray. I might hit it with a tack cloth before I give it the base coat, but that thing is about good. I got this sanded down. I sanded all the filler and the little imperfections down with 80, and then I went back with 180 on the DA and smoothed it all out, just to get all the sanding marks out and everything. Just be careful, because if you sand too much, you start to get that texture back, and I noticed that and slowed down, moved on to the next spot. You can kind of see where some of the low spots were, and mainly just like little pinholes, like right there. Places where I didn't get fiberglass all the way on it. Just use the body filler to fill that in. I'll probably go back with spot putty after I prime it, and I'm sure there's gonna be some more little imperfections on it and pinholes that I can't see, but once you spray it with primer, you'll be able to see it better. I went ahead and used this again. This is all I really have to clean it before I paint, but I'm not a big fan. It leaves it slick and like, I don't know, it should evaporate in my opinion, but after I wiped it down with that, I just went back with a rag, a lint-free rag, and tried to get all the greasy stuff off of it the best I could to hopefully let the primer stick better. So yeah, that's the next step. I'm gonna go ahead and spray that with this, I think this universal bonding primer. It says it is, let's see, difficult to paint surface, blah, blah, blah. I might see how good this fills in all the little imperfections and stuff. I usually use filler primer, but yeah, I'm gonna give that a whirl, and then hopefully that will be pretty much ready to spray as well. Like I said, I'll have to hit it with some spot putty, like all the little pinholes and stuff, but that's what I use for there. Put it on with same thing you put on the filler, then go back and just sand that down a little bit with maybe some 320. I don't want to get into the primer too much, but then wherever you use that spot putty, just go ahead and go back and prime it again. I'm not an expert in this by any means. I think I've said that before, but this is just how I'm doing it, and show you guys the finished product, and maybe you can save a couple dollars doing it this way, because I think I have maybe $100 in it so far. And just the materials to do this. The bumper part, it's like $50 I think, and I haven't bought the paint yet. I need to go get the paint tomorrow. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this primer on there. I got this piece all sealed up last night. I got a couple runs in it, so I went ahead and wet sanded it with some 600, which seems to be a lot better than the 400 that I used before, because there isn't any scratches and stuff. There's a little imperfections here and there, but all in all, I love that sealer. That sealer is pretty high build, and it sands down great. That's really smooth. I don't want to touch it a bunch. I just touched it once. I don't want to keep touching it and get a bunch of dirt on it. This thing, I think I already explained that. It's all ready to go. I hit both of those with the tack cloth. It's just like this sticky, grabs like the dirt and debris that's on the panel. And yeah, I hit them with the tack cloth, got all that shit off, ready to lay down the base coat now. Obviously this isn't ideal, the jack stands and stuff, and whatever, it's what I got. I'm gonna make it do. I never claimed to be the best at this. I work with what I got, and yeah, you're gonna see that I definitely need a mask before I do this stuff, but I don't have one. So before you comment and say that, I'm sorry. I know I need one. I'm gonna open the door and get my fan going. There's a little door over there that I'm gonna crack open, and once I'm done spraying it, I'll open the big door so I can get some ventilation in here, but I don't want to blow a bunch of dirt and stuff all over it while I'm painting it, so might wait a little bit on that and then just step outside. I got the paint and everything, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up. I got the paint, ta-da, Silver Birch Metallic, WA 926L. It's like that pewter color. It's obviously Silver Birch Metallic, but it looks like pewter that all the like a majority of the Silverados and stuff are in those years, and a lot of the S10s too. I got some clear coat that is gonna be mixed 4-to-1, and they said 2-to-1 on the paint, but I'm gonna go ahead and mix that 4-to-1 also, because if you look on here, oh, let's see, where's 2-to-1? 2-to-1, so say you're putting, this is all 2-to-1 right here. So you essentially, you just match, so you pour the paint in, and then you pour the reducer up to the other 6. Which is a lot of reducer, and it's gonna make it more runny and not as much coverage. So I'm probably gonna do 4-to-1. So I would go 6 and then 6, and you can tell that that's a lot more, or excuse me, a lot less reducer, and it's hopefully gonna get some more coverage and not take as many coats to cover this thing. It says 2 to 3 coats. I'm gonna do 2, or I'm gonna do 3 and see how the coverage is, and then go from there. I might put a 4th one on there because I don't really have anything else to paint right now. Probably do the mirrors and door handles at some point, but they're not ready, so might just use that paint and then go get some more paint when that time comes to do the mirrors and door handles. But yeah, time to lay down the base coat. Alright, so got the base coat laid down. I gave it 3 coats. I went up to the 6th level on the 4-to-1. I think it was a little too much. I did find a mask, by the way. That's all I got, but it's better than nothing. And I got a fan going, so it's pretty cleared out in here now. But I went to the number 6 on 4-to-1, and it was a little too much paint. It barely fit in the gun, to be honest. It almost overflowed, which is just I think it was like 25 bucks at Harbor Freight. But honestly, I set my regulator to 80 on the wall straight out of the compressor, and then I turned it down to about 25 on the gun, and it seems to spray pretty well if you stay about 8 to 10 inches away. And then like the more coat you put on, the closer you want to get a little bit, but which is a fine line because you don't want it to run, but you also want to get plenty of coverage. I do spot one run. I can see it right now, and I knew it was going to run right there because it right there, because I was following this down and took the corner too close, and boom. But honestly, don't even give a shit. I'm gonna clear over it. Too much time in this stuff, to be honest. It's so tedious, but as long as you prep it good and everything, it'll turn out good. Prep work is really rewarding in the long run. I've learned that. Years ago when I worked at a body shop, this old painter told me that when you spray out of your gun, you want it, I always put like a piece of paper, like this one right here, before I spray. And you want it in the shape of a football. And there's a little knob on the gun that you turn, and you can adjust it and how it sprays. And you always want it to look like a football. At least that's what I was told. I'm no pro. Like, I just got to run in that, so. But it seems to work pretty well. That little cheap gun I'm pretty proud of it, and I'm still waiting right now. Got my eye on the clock. It's about to be 20 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and lay down the clear coat. All right, so I didn't hit the time-lapse button. I skipped the first coat of clear. It's definitely a lot harder to spray clear. I turned my pressure on the regulator on the gun all the way down to 10, and it's still, in my opinion, spraying too much. So I obviously have to back away. You want to probably go like, hell, 16 to 20 inches away from it, and I still got a couple of runs in it, but I was able to kind of dab it off, and thankfully they're not in a place that I'm really going to see. So I'll turn the time-lapse on and go ahead and hit it with a second coat. All right, back out here in the garage. It's the following day after spraying this deal. I'm overall very pleased with it. I did get some runs in the clear. I think I said that on the last one. I can fix that though. I'll show you, like there's some there. You can see that one there, and then it's really bad over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, blah, blah. Pretty much all right there. But it's not terrible. It can be repaired. But I'm going to assemble the bumper and put it on the truck before I try and attempt to give that a repair. Just so it's more sturdy and it gives me a more sturdy platform to deal with. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw that top cover on and then put the bottom piece on, my new brackets, mount it on the truck, and I'll have to get some filler because I don't have the type of filler that I need for that deal. But yeah, I'm overall pleased with it. On that top cover, it is a lot better than if I would have just sprayed it. If I wouldn't have fiberglassed it, you would have seen all that stuff like I've already said, but I'm overall pleased with it. That fiberglass resin did wonders to it. So if you're wanting to do that, I would recommend doing it. If you don't have the paintable piece, that's obviously, if I ever do that again, I'll probably just get the paintable piece because then you're gonna have to mess with all the fiberglass. But if you feel like repairing it yourself and preparing it yourself, I guess, and yeah, putting in a little time, then fiberglass will work. I'm gonna get to assembling this and get it mounted on the truck. All right, so I just got these brackets on on the sides right here. On these cat eyes, if you ever notice like the bumper drooping down, like there's hella gap over here. I hate how it looks. It drives me insane. My other ones were like that. This old which one was it? This one that I clearanced for the intercooler piping. This one was bent, so I just ran a rod through my core support down to the bumper and tightened it and pulled it up. But yeah, that drives me nuts. And these new brackets are half the thickness of the original ones. So I'm gonna have to come in here sometime, probably just pull these back off the truck when I get out to my dad's. His welder is a little bit better than mine. And just put like a gusset in here to stiffen these up, because man, this isn't, it's like 1/8 inch, and I know this, the wall thickness of this tubing is a lot smaller as well. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna throw the bottom cover on and then the top one. All right, I said I was gonna put the top and bottom cover on, but you do want to put the brackets on first. I got all new brackets for it just to make sure that everything is square and it hopefully mounts level. I will say that these aftermarket eBay specials are not nearly as thick as the stock ones. If I ever buy these again, I will get the OEM GM ones. I think those are like 70 bucks. Here's the original ones. They're a lot thicker, which weight savings, right, on those. But if I don't ever plan on touching anything, but if I do, those new ones are for sure gonna bend. But yep, in the process of getting the brackets mounted. All right, so I did get the bumper on last night. Man, it took me probably close to 3 hours to get those panels on there. I would not recommend getting the cheaper ones off of like eBay or Amazon because they do not fit. That bottom piece, I had to drill out all the holes. The holes didn't line up. On the top bumper cover, there's like these little studs that kind of pop into the metal part of the bumper, and none of those lined up. I actually had to, oh, it's hideous. I had to cut that right there because where it folded over, it was hitting the metal part of the bumper, and I couldn't slide this over far enough on the other side to get all those studs in. So I'm gonna have to do something there. Probably do it when I fix those runs in the clear. Just put a little fiberglass there and try to make it look how it did. But yeah, it's on there. I got my intercooler on. The intercooler piping's on that side. This side is the one that I messed up, but that goes down there, and then you can't see it, but I got it ran down there. Start mocking that up. A lot of people go like flip their intercooler up and then run through the headlight bracket, but I thought it was easier to just run down like that. It comes straight out of the turbo, down, around, up to the intercooler. It's a lot easier than trimming all your headlight brackets like I see everyone else doing. You can see it in there. I might need to paint that black sometimes. You can't really see it, but it's good for now. But yeah, I think I'm gonna probably cut this video off. I feel like I'm rambling on and dragging this out at this point, but I'm gonna try to fix that dent in the rocker today and see if I can't figure out my audio issue, because I do have two 12s in this and they're working, but none of my door speakers are. So got the charger on there, charging her up, and see if I can figure that out. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you like what you see.